It was supposed to be an evening of good-natured banter, charity, and light-hearted jabs among the elite. The annual Al Smith Dinner, a white-tie charity event held in Manhattan, has long served as a stage for political figures to exchange humorous remarks while supporting a noble cause. However, when Donald Trump took the podium this year, the atmosphere in the room quickly shifted from jovial to uncomfortable, leaving priests, politicians, and attendees stunned by what unfolded. What was meant to be a unifying, charitable event morphed into an evening of awkward silences, bizarre remarks, and cringe-inducing moments as Trump stumbled through a disjointed and offensive speech that seemed more like a campaign rally than a comedy roast. Despite the elegant setting and prestigious guest list, including New York City's power players and Catholic clergy, Trump's performance left much to be desired. With Vice President Kamala Harris notably absent, Trump's awkward delivery, botched jokes, and continuous jabs at political opponents sparked outrage, especially among the organizers who had hoped the night would remain respectful. What ensued instead was a display of tone-deaf humor, odd tirades, and a crowd that barely cracked a smile. This event, normally a light-hearted fundraiser, was marred by Trump's relentless mocking of figures such as former President Barack Obama, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and even his own wife, Melania Trump. His inability to read the room, compounded by a lack of basic comedic timing, made the entire spectacle a disastrous affair for everyone involved. A night gone wrong. The Al Smith Dinner disaster. The Al Smith Dinner, an annual tradition, typically serves as a humorous interlude in the heat of political campaigns, where candidates from both sides exchange self-deprecating jokes while raising funds for Catholic charities. It's a space for political rivals to show a more personable side of themselves, demonstrating that behind the political theater, there remains a shared humanity. Yet, Trump's speech at this year's dinner fell flat, not only failing to deliver humor, but also alienating many of the attendees with a series of bizarre, often offensive remarks. From the moment Donald Trump took the stage, it was clear this would not be a typical address. Ditching the light-hearted atmosphere expected at such an event, Trump seemed intent on turning the evening into a mini-rally for his 2024 presidential campaign. With no teleprompter and armed with handwritten notes, Trump struggled to deliver punchlines, instead veering into a combination of awkward self-pity and attacks on his political adversaries. His remarks about being called weird set the tone for the evening, alienating the audience and plunging the mood from festive to downright uncomfortable. A speech that fell flat. Perhaps one of the most telling moments came early in the speech when Trump complained about the event's ban on teleprompters. With a smirk, he lamented, "They told me, under no circumstances are you allowed to use a teleprompter." Despite his supposed aversion to prepared remarks, it quickly became clear why Trump might have needed the extra help. His jokes were awkwardly timed and fell flat, drawing little more than polite chuckles from the audience. Trump seemed to realize the room wasn't with him and began calling out the crowd for not laughing at his jokes. At one point, he openly asked, "Does anybody understand that?" referring to one of his remarks about former President Barack Obama. This line only deepened the silence in the room as Trump pressed forward, clearly baffled that his humor wasn't landing. Bizarre attacks on political opponents. Trump's decision to turn the dinner into an opportunity to attack political figures was another critical misstep. As the event progressed, Trump launched into a lengthy diatribe about President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. He mocked Biden for his age and cognitive abilities, quipping, "Joe has almost disappeared from view." This dig was met with little enthusiasm, as many in the audience were looking for light-hearted humor rather than mean-spirited jabs. Perhaps one of the most awkward moments came when Trump went after Chuck Schumer, who was sitting near him at the event. "The Democrats really wanted to have someone not be with us this evening," Trump began, before quipping that they could have just sent Biden, who is having second thoughts about running for re-election. The lack of laughter or applause following this comment was palpable, and Trump's insistence on hammering away at Biden's competency only further alienated those present. But it wasn't just Democrats in Trump's crosshairs. He also took aim at former Mayor Bill de Blasio, whom he described as a terrible mayor, adding in a profanity-laced comment about de Blasio's tenure. The outburst seemed particularly inappropriate, given the formal nature of the event and its focus on charity and goodwill. While some of Trump's previous jokes may have been met with polite chuckles, this outburst seemed to cross the line, leaving the audience in stunned silence. Melania Trump, the reluctant attendee. Trump didn't stop at taking shots at political opponents. He also turned his sights on his wife, Melania Trump, referring to her as part of a post-nuptial agreement that required her to attend 1 or 2 events with him per year. Trump's joke came off as awkward and distasteful. Melania, who was seated nearby, appeared visibly uncomfortable during the entire speech, which only added to the tense atmosphere. Trump's comments about his wife drew attention not just for their awkwardness, but for the underlying message they conveyed. Many attendees were left wondering whether Melania's discomfort was a reflection of a deeper rift in their relationship. Regardless, the tone-deaf joke further eroded the evening's atmosphere, with audience members shifting uncomfortably in their seats. A cringe-inducing tribute to Obama. Trump's bizarre mention of former President Barack Obama left the room scratching their heads. During the speech, Trump referred to Obama as Barack Hussein Obama, a phrase long used by right-wing pundits to stoke xenophobic and Islamophobic sentiments. Trump then attempted to weave in a confusing anecdote, claiming that Obama had once admitted that someone wasn't as strong as him. The audience, clearly confused by the story, remained silent, and Trump's increasingly frustrated demeanor made the moment all the more uncomfortable. The invocation of Obama's middle name was a deliberate choice, a tactic Trump has used before to pander to certain segments of his base. However, in the context of the Al Smith dinner, a setting meant to celebrate bipartisan unity and charity, the line fell flat, serving only to further alienate the room. Defending Eric Adams, a puzzling choice. In a particularly odd segment of his speech, Trump went out of his way to defend New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who had recently been indicted for allegedly accepting bribes from Turkish officials. Despite the seriousness of the charges, Trump painted Adams as a victim of political persecution, claiming, "They went after you, Mayor Adams." I knew this was going to happen. Trump's attempt to portray Adams as a martyr struck many as out of touch. Adams, who was not present at the dinner, has faced mounting legal troubles, and Trump's decision to defend him only added to the confusion surrounding his speech. Rather than focus on uniting the room through humor or self-deprecation, Trump seemed intent on stoking division and controversy. The absence of Vice President Kamala Harris. One of the evening's most notable absences was Vice President Kamala Harris, who chose not to attend the Al Smith dinner. Instead, Harris spent the evening campaigning in swing states, meeting with union workers, and engaging with her supporters. Her decision to avoid the event proved to be a wise one, as she sidestepped the uncomfortable spectacle that unfolded. Harris's absence was a point of focus for Trump, who took several jabs at the vice president throughout the evening. Referring to her decision to campaign instead of attend, Trump sarcastically remarked that she's not as strong as her predecessors. The comment, like much of Trump's speech, failed to land and instead served to highlight the stark contrast between the two leaders' approaches to the event. The Gaffigan rebuttal, a voice of reason. Comedian Jim Gaffigan, who was tasked with hosting the evening, did his best to salvage the night's events. Known for his sharp wit and deadpan humor, Gaffigan offered a subtle but pointed rebuttal to Trump's tirade. At one point he quipped, "You either think Trump is endearingly outspoken and brash, or you think he's a sociopath, and you'd like to be his running mate." Gaffigan's remarks were met with applause, as many in the audience appreciated the shift in tone. However, even Gaffigan's humor couldn't fully repair the damage done by Trump's speech. In a particularly biting moment, Gaffigan referenced Trump's infamous comments about migrants, joking, "This is the second time grabbing a kitty has been part of a campaign issue." The audience responded with laughter, but the underlying message was clear. Trump's speech had crossed the line. Harris's campaign, a stark contrast. While Trump was busy floundering at the Al Smith dinner, Vice President Kamala Harris was on the campaign trail, addressing key issues affecting American families. Harris's focus on union workers, healthcare, and Social Security stood in stark contrast to Trump's rambling, disjointed performance. As Harris crisscrossed swing states, she made it clear that her priorities lay with the working class, not the elites gathered at a white tie event. Harris's decision to forego the Al Smith dinner in favor of campaign stops proved to be a smart political move. While Trump's performance alienated many, Harris's absence allowed her to maintain her image as a serious, focused leader. As Trump floundered, Harris was busy building connections with voters, addressing the issues that mattered most to them. Donald Trump's performance at this year's Al Smith dinner will undoubtedly be remembered, but for all the wrong reasons. What was intended to be a night of good-natured fun and charity quickly turned into an awkward, cringe-inducing spectacle. Trump's tone-deaf jokes, offensive remarks, and relentless political attacks left the audience cold, while Vice President Kamala Harris's absence only served to highlight the stark contrast between the two leaders. As Trump continues to court controversy, one thing is clear. His ability to read the room remains as elusive as ever. The Al Smith dinner, once a prestigious event for fostering unity, has now become a symbol of division thanks to Trump's disastrous performance. While the evening may have been a fundraising success, the damage done to Trump's public image may prove to be far more costly in the long run.